Your government says cash is not property, so no Fourth Amendment rights for you. That's pretty extraordinary. It makes sense, though, given what we're learning from the Department of Government Efficiency and how they view our money, or rather the digits, the made-up digits that are supposed to be money. Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency team has found out that the Treasury has literally never, ever failed to make a payment. They've literally never denied a payment, even when, according to the Department of Government Efficiency and Elon Musk, even when they're sending digits, fake cash with real implications for us, because it comes out of our bank accounts eventually, out of our hands, even when these are going to known fraudulent organizations, known to be fraudulent. I mean, look back through the period of time when the government had enforced these lockdowns. Look back through what happened with unemployment in countries like Washington State. $1 billion out the door to Nigerian hackers, we were told, except they didn't have to hack anything because someone in Washington State turned off all the fraud prevention techniques. Simple, off-the-shelf fraud prevention techniques like, hey, if we're handing out $1 billion, let's make sure that that's not all going to the same bank accounts. Any off-the-shelf fraud prevention software would stop that. Someone turned it off. Well, they got like $500 million back. Where's the other $500 million? Massive amounts of money hidden in incompetence can create opportunities for massive amounts of fraud. Robbie Starbuck points out that the highest-ranking Treasury official, David A. LeBrick, resigned rather than complying with a request by the Department of Government Efficiency to audit where they've spent trillions of dollars per year. It's not like Musk can get in there and spend it. He just wants to see where it's being spent. But to a government who doesn't consider our cash to be property, they consider us to be property. This all makes sense. I'll tell you about that in a second. My friend Tim Cruikshank, the founder and CEO of Bone Frog Coffee, fought wars on behalf of a country that looks to be secreting our money away to people who don't deserve it. I'll have to ask Tim one day again, hey, would you serve again? He said he would. I was worried that there's going to reach this time where men like Tim would say, yeah, it's gotten bad enough that I'm not going to serve. He told me, yeah, absolutely, I'd go back in. He's really happy about the new administration. He's really happy with the changes he's seeing. And, of course, he's hoping it's good things for his business. Tim's business, Bone Frog Coffee and Bone Frog Cellars, honors Navy SEALs. Obviously, Tim was a Navy SEAL. He did 3 deployments on our behalf. He was a medic attached to the SEAL teams. So, of course, he's wanting good things for the armed forces. He's wanting good things for the economy. And he honors the armed forces in everything he does, not just with God, country, team on the bags, which ushers God, country, team, teamwork. He also considers family to be team. He also hires veterans whenever he can and even active military. A guy named Atticus, who's worked for Tim, I think it's this week. He leaves for boot camp, and then he's been called up to BUD/S, an opportunity to go become a Navy SEAL. I don't think this guy could work for someone better than Tim, who could coach him through that whole process as they're making coffee together. And Tim doesn't just hire soldiers. He knows he needs to have great coffee. So he works with Dave Stewart, who started Seattle's Best Coffee, to create many of the roasts and mentors the team on the rest of them. So whether it's wine, which is bonefrogsellers.com/Todd, go there if you're a wine drinker, get 10% off from me, bonefrogsellers.com/Todd. 10% of proceeds go to the Navy SEAL Foundation, or coffee, which is what I drink. bonefrogcoffee.com/Todd. 10% off your first purchase, 15% off subscription coffee. God Country team on both the wines and the coffees. bonefrogcoffee.com/Todd, bonefrogsellers.com/Todd. This comes from Reason Magazine, which was so wrong on many, many things during the Biden administration, but so right on things like property seizure. The government says money isn't property. This comes from Reason Magazine, and a jaw-dropping Department of Justice claims seizing $50,000 from a small business doesn't violate property rights because money isn't property. And this is the piece by Rob Johnson. As a lawyer who sues the government, you get used to different kinds of arguments that government lawyers use to justify abuses of individual rights, sweeping claims of government power, bad faith procedural obstacles, and more. This is a new one. The United States Department of Justice argued that confiscating $50,000 from a small business did not infringe the business owner's right to private property because money is not property. Quote, money is not necessarily property For constitutional purposes, the government's brief declared, putting the very idea of property in square quotes. Reading at my desk, I practically fell out of my chair. The DOJ gave three rationales for the argument, all packed into one doorstopper of a footnote. 1, the government creates money, so you can't own it. 2, the government can tax your money, so you don't own it. 3, the Constitution allows government to spend money for the general welfare. If a libertarian writer was asked to write a satire of government lawyers' briefs, this is what they might come up with. But there it was in black and white. When the government says things like this, do you notice that they forget a key aspect of our society? We're told constantly, but you are the government. Oh yeah, there's that annoying phrase, we the people. We are governed at the consent of the governed, which can be withdrawn. When you start saying that the device we've decided to use to acquire property is not property, you're getting very, very close to saying something like you are property. Because if we can just take from you your life's energy, stored in this case in the financial device we as a society has decided to use, then you are really property to your own government. That's probably not a good place to go if you value freedom or peace. Senator Mike Johnson, speaking of money, and speaking of property, and speaking of government, has decided to look into where our money went. Well, not our property, mind you, the money that government lets us touch, where it ended up in the hands of Joe Biden's family and that of Anthony Fauci.
It was shocking. I mean, it was shocking what President Biden did on the way out, pardoning his family for more than a decade of whatever activity, any nonviolent offenses. It was breathtaking to us. I don't think that's anything like that's ever been anticipated. And by the way, go look at the tape. 4 years ago, when it was just implied that President Trump might do something similar, they were apoplectic. Joe Biden himself, Adam Schiff, Chuck Schumer, roll the tape. They all said that would be crazy and unconscionable, and now they're cheering it along. To us, it is disgusting. To us, it probably proves the point, the suspicion that, they call it the Biden crime family. If they weren't the crime family, why do they need pardons, right? Look, there's a lot of attention that's going to be paid to this, and I think that is appropriate, and we will be looking at it as well. So, yeah.
We will be looking at it. How about we've already looked at it? How about Peter Schweitzer has documented it? How about the DOJ had enough to indict the figurehead, but they simply said he was too old and feeble to do it. So let's stop looking at it. Let's start doing it. Let's actually get after the indictments. Oh, that's right, the pardons. Oh, that's right. Oh, darn the luck. If only there was a tool we could use to, let's say, force them to decide between telling the truth or going to jail or taking the fifth and embarrassing themselves. Oh, that's right, there is. Subpoenas. There's also all the people who knew that the money was fraud. There's all the people who surrounded it. There's the people who paid it. We can go after them, and we should, and take their money. After all, it's not property.